Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 118 of the WP Café show with myself, Mark Wilkinson, and as always, alongside me is my co-host, Keith Devon. If you have never listened to us before, this is the podcast live show all about WordPress stuff, mainly WordPress developments, running our WordPress agency and developing our WordPress products. And that's the kind of discussions and chats we tend to get involved in. So if this sounds like something that might interest you now and in the future, please do consider subscribing to the channel, give the video a like, and do share us around as well. It's nice to get this distributed to other people. So today we've got 4 topics to discuss if we get a chance, because we usually rabble on a bit, so we sometimes miss the last one. We'll do our best to get through them. If you are joining us live on YouTube, please let us know in the comments who you are, where you're listening from. It's nice to see that we're not talking into the ether of nothingness and that someone is actually listening to us sometimes. As always, before we get started, how are you, Keith? How has your week in WordPress and not been?
It's generally been a good week. Yeah, what's been going on? We've got lots of little bits and pieces going on at the minute. Little product ideas here and there, some tenders out for some work, some ongoing projects, some rec press stuff, some job relay stuff. There's lots of little bits and pieces, So
yeah, it feels like I don't know how you feel. It feels like we're at the top of a cliff and we could easily just like fall with nothingness.
Yeah,
because they could all disappear, or everything could just take off, and then we'll be like, "Wow, this year's going to be so busy," and we'll see what happens. Probably somewhere in the middle.
I'm kind of optimistic, but I'm always cautiously optimistic. So, for example, I don't know. We'll get to it in a minute. Actually, I was gonna talk about the plugin and some feedback I've had on that and how that's kind of affected me. But generally, I'm feeling quite pretty upbeat and enjoying tinkering with a few things, enjoying playing about with a bit of AI. And I know that's getting boring now, but it is, I think, what we're all going to be doing very, very soon.
Have you been vibe coding, Keith?
Sorry?
Have you been vibe coding?
No, I'm not vibe coding because I'm not doing the voice bit. I think that's what makes it vibe coding. Is when it's good. Yeah, it's voice to text and text to AI, I think. So I don't know what my kind's called. I'm glad it's not called vibe coding. So that's good. Yeah, how about yourself? How's your week gone?
It's been pretty good. Nothing majorly dug into, just bits and bobs, like you said, here, there, and everywhere. We didn't have a show last week, did we?
I was away on a stag day.
That's right. Yeah, I was just thinking because we didn't win one of the school projects that we had out, which was a little disappointing. Actually, like some really good feedback in terms of like, and I know they might just have said this to keep us happy and sweet, but they said like we were really in the running, we were in the last 2, and it read like we really wanted to use you guys, but we couldn't because of a little bit of price and a little bit of spec and a little bit of photography. Essentially, was what
mostly
we didn't
price.
have in ours. I think it was the price was the biggest factor. So we were more expensive than the one that they went with. So yeah, that was disappointing. That was a bit of a downer, I think, when we finished that week. Wasn't last week? I think it was the week before, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think we both said, and I was talking to my friend Nick this morning about it. I actually think that they might have made the right decision because going through that project, they didn't really care about the stuff that we are good at.
Yeah.
But specifically, like the content management side of things, they didn't seem to care what that experience was like.
Well, they
didn't ask to see it. They didn't talk about complaints with their old content management system. It was effectively just we want it to look nicer than it does today.
And they didn't want a news section, which I thought was strange. Like, and that to me tells me that they don't really want to add content to the site. So I do get the feeling that it will be a site that is built, content is added, and it literally doesn't change.
Yeah.
Or very few things change, like the necessities that need to change, policies, dates, and things, and so forth.
If you think about the last school website we did, they're constantly changing it and constantly adding new sections. There's content all the time going on to that. And I think that's the kind of person that we should be working with. And someone that just wants a bit of a brochureware site. We're overkill for that. Our skills and our prices and everything are overkill.
But I do wonder whether this particular one, and with other ones as well, is that first of all, what have we learned? We should demo the block editor and the back end of WordPress that we're going to 100%. Deliver, because actually they might be sat there thinking, we don't want to edit the site because it's horrible. Editing websites is terrible and we can't do it because it's all rubbish. But actually, if you showed them the back end and they might think, wow, that is really cool and that is really easy to use. Think about what we could do now with our website. We could add news and start doing this maybe. So I think even if they're not interested in seeing that, I do think we should demonstrate it, because it sets you apart from the rest, and it might spark something in the customer that says, actually, we could go further on this project than we thought we could. Who knows? So I think we should do that.
Absolutely.
And see what it is. Right, let's get stuck into some topics. Before we do, hello to Jackson. Thanks for joining us. And also to Ben, who's in Madrid. Thank you for joining us as well. Anyone else is listening, please let us know who you are.
Is Jackson the chap that we met at the WordPress London meetup? I think it might be. I recognise that thumbnail. I think we might have met him.
I'm terrible at remembering
WordPress
faces,
London.
So.
I'm quite good with faces. I'm terrible at everything else. That's one thing I'm quite good at remembering. So on to our main topic. I don't know if we're going to get too much further than this topic, to be honest, today, because there's a fair bit to chat about. But basically, we have we talked about this already on the show, Mark? Can you remember? Hinted at?
Very briefly, I think. Yeah, very briefly. We mentioned it. We might have mentioned what it is, but I don't think we've gone into any great detail about its concepts and so forth.
So, as part of the ongoing work we do with recruitment agencies and generally like job boards, a request has come up a few times of dynamically creating landing pages for specific search combinations of jobs. So I want a landing page for all my legal jobs in London, or I want a landing page for all my part-time accountancy jobs, or something like that. And one of the ways to do that is just to create a page in WordPress. And then if they're using our RecPress product, for instance, we can drop a pre-filtered job listings list on the page specific to that particular query, that particular sector or whatever. And that's the way we've done that in the past. But wouldn't it be nice, potentially, to be able to do that for thousands of combinations of terms and taxonomies instantly? So that is what we have built. So one of our main clients specifically asked us to do this and quote for it, and we thought, right, this is the time. We're gonna have a crack. So we've built a plugin that allows you install it, you set the post type that you want it to be active on, you give it a URL slug that it's going to live at. So as an example, it might be browse jobs or just jobs or whatever. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Find houses or
exactly.
Like that.
And then what that does is it creates a list of those post types with filters down the side. So you can choose which taxonomies are displayed, and you can click on a taxonomy term, and then it filters your post type by that term. But then you can keep adding to those. So I can click things like jobs in Germany, and then on the next, once I'm on the German page, I can click part-time jobs in Germany, and then I can click legal part-time jobs in Germany, and you can keep kind of digging down. But the key with this, it might not sound very exciting to anybody at this point because you've probably seen that all before. We use something called Facet WP, for instance, which lets you filter queries like this in a really, really clever, beautiful way. But it doesn't create your pretty URLs. It doesn't change the page title, the meta title, and anything like that. So effectively, it's all on one page, and it's just query parameters on one page. Whereas our system is creating unique URLs for every combination of terms on the site, which can, in theory, be indexed by Google, and hopefully will pick up some of the long tail search traffic.
And
that's the theory and some of the practice.
Importantly, it's creating a nice, friendly title on the page based on the parameters that you've set. So, for example, in the example that Keith gave, you might have like the H1 on the page would be like full-time accountancy jobs in Germany, for example. That would be the H1 title, and also the meta title as well, or the page title tag, if that makes sense. So that it's all that's dynamically generated, and you can set what that title looks like in like a merge string. So you can set the different taxonomy terms that will be populated and what sort of format that will come in. So the client we're working with has got I think they've gone for location jobs, haven't they? So it's like London jobs in accountancy or in full-time accountancy, something like that. Whereas we thought it was more natural to say like full-time accountancy jobs in London. But all that's settable. You can also set which taxonomies display. So if you've got taxonomies assigned to that specific post type that you don't want to use, you can provide a specific list. Say, I'll use only these 3 taxonomies because I only want to generate landing pages for those taxonomies. So yeah, it's quite powerful. I think it's been quite good.
Well, yeah, I mean, it works exactly like we envisaged it. Like what we set out to do, we've built. I would say you've built this. But now the question is, well, a couple of questions. One, does it actually work? So is it actually going to boost people's organic SEO traffic? I hope so. I'm not
tied to that. It's probably worth saying why we think it will work. And the reason for that is because once you've landed on this page, which you would obviously have to link to from your website. So our current client has a default jobs page, which is what we've called search jobs, which is the standard facet WP search. So you can have multiple facets, etc. And then from there, we've got a browse tab section where you can click browse jobs, and then it takes you to this other section where you can then browse the jobs. And the links down the left-hand side are just like links. There's no, they're not dynamically generated on page or anything. They're just literally links that Google can follow. So they can click on, Google can follow all the links down the left-hand side. So it'll see all these pages, which I think is why it should be good.
I know this goes out as a podcast, so I'm going to be aware of that, but I do want to just demo this just for a quick second.
Go for it.
And I'll try to describe it while I'm going. So I've set up a test WordPress site locally called Acme Jobs, and this is I'm looking at a jobs page now. So I've got /jobs, and what I've got here is a jobs listing page, filterable using Facet WP filters. So
this is RecPress, am I right?
This is RecPress. This is like RecPress out of the box before it's been styled.
Yeah.
So if I click, there's a job category section. If I click on that, it will update the job listings just to show the ones that have been categorized with technology, for example. Then if I click on job types contract, I'll click on that. Now I've got 4 jobs left. So that works really well. And that's kind of, what people expect it to look like from a kind of user's point of view.
But the page title hasn't changed.
Yeah,
the meta title hasn't changed.
Exactly.
We're still on a jobs page according to Google.
So the URL for this is still /jobs and then question mark, and then it's _job_industry equals technology and _job type blah 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 equals contract. And so we're still, like Mark said, we're still on like a single page here, and the page is /jobs. And you can see that the title of the page, the H1, hasn't changed, and the meta title hasn't changed. So it's still jobs-Acme Jobs in this case. Now, I've set up our browse jobs version of this over here. And this is key as well, is that you can run both of these systems at the same time. One of the kind of inspirations for this was the Guardian Jobs website. And if you go to the Guardian Jobs website, you'll see there's a browse and a search tab. The search one does what I've just demoed, which is the kind of query string filters. The browse version does what we've just built, which is these actual URLs to new pages. I'm on /browse-jobs. It's the same list of jobs as before. It's the same.
It is important, Keith, to mention the difference in that if you're on the search jobs section, you can add multiple terms from a single taxonomy. So you could say, show me all of the technology and accountancy jobs, both of which are job categories.
Yes.
You can't do that on the browse. You can only choose one term within a taxonomy at a time.
From each taxonomy.
You'll see that in a second.
Correct. Yeah.
So they do differ in that respect.
So I have the same taxonomies. So I've got job categories, job types, and locations. I've got the same list of jobs. But now, whenever I click, for example, on marketing under job categories, I'm going to click on that. We can see a few changes. So the first thing is that the URL. So this is a new page. We're now at browse-jobs/marketing. The H1 on the page has changed to marketing jobs, and the meta title has changed to marketing jobs. So that's great, but it's going to be pretty hard to compete for that as a keyword. But what we can do now is we can click on part-time under job types, and we've added part-time to the URL. So now we're at /browse-jobs/marketing/part-time, and our H1 is part-time marketing jobs, which is the same as our meta title. And we can go one further by clicking on Glasgow under locations. Now we've got an H1 of part-time marketing jobs in Glasgow. It's got a unique URL with /browse-jobs/marketing/part-time/Glasgow, and the meta title has updated too. So our hope is that these long tail search terms like part-time marketing jobs in Glasgow will get picked up for these sites. Just the traffic,
just a couple of technical things which I think is important. It's important to point them out because it took me ages to build them, so I'm going to point them out anyway. The URL structure always stays the same. So it doesn't matter which order you add them in. They will always be the same order. So in this case, it looks like the order is industry, job type, category, job type, location. So if I was to add Glasgow first, it would be /Glasgow. But as soon as I add a category to that, it would be /marketing/Glasgow. It would change. They do work whichever way around you put them. But we set a canonical URL on the page that's the correct way.
Exactly. So if I take part-time out, which is the middle of the three kind of query parameters, as it were, I can just delete it actually. So now I'm in marketing jobs in Glasgow, and if I click on part-time again, it'll go in between marketing and Glasgow again. So the links that are created are always of the same order, so that we're not creating loads of different URLs for exactly the same page effectively. And that's one of the things that we were keen to do from an SEO kind of duplicate content point of view. So that seems to work pretty well.
Courtney has a quick question. Is it similar to taxonomy archive pages, but allowing you to chain taxonomies?
I guess so.
Yeah, I guess so. It's not. It is taxonomies. Yeah, you're chaining terms within different taxonomies is what you're doing. But yes, it's very similar to that. Yes.
Yeah. So it's working pretty well. We've got a few challenges, don't we, to work through now. One of which is performance. I mean, when you have a lot of taxonomies and a lot of terms, the query gets very, very heavy very quickly because it's exponential, effectively. So that's a bit of a challenge. Another challenge is that we currently aren't adding any of this to sitemap. We were hoping one of the reasons for that is I just didn't want to start messing around and like over diluting people's sitemaps, because it could potentially turn a site that has 1,000 items in its sitemap to something that quickly has 50,000. And I didn't know if that was going to kind of dilute the rankings that Google assigns to each page. So sitemaps is something we haven't really dealt with yet.
Would it not be enough to just add the browse jobs page to the sitemap and then let Google do the rest once it visits that page.
Well,
as in, tell it that it's there, and then you go and follow the rest of the links, type thing.
so this is running on a client site at the moment, and that's a very good question. I haven't checked if the browse jobs page has been indexed. I've checked if some of our generated URLs have been indexed, and I haven't found one that has been yet. But yeah, that's a very
quite
good
short,
point.
though, isn't it?
In theory, Google should be able to get to that browse jobs page and then go through all the links itself.
Yeah.
Like, it would take a very long time, though, and I think that's maybe where sitemaps are going to help. Because there's a lot of links to discover, and I do think that, I don't know much about Google crawlers, but I think that they have a bit of a limit to like how far they'll naturally go. So I think that this is all stuff. If you've been really interesting to talk to like a proper SEO person about this, because that's what this is for. So yeah, interesting stuff. Hopefully it'll be really
good. It's good stuff. It's worked a lot better than I anticipated. I didn't anticipate it was going to fail, really, but I don't know what I mean. It has been more successful than I thought. One thing it's worth mentioning is that you might, eagle-eyed might have seen it on the top there. You can actually create a custom header. So if you want to, that dynamic title that's generated, so part-time jobs in whatever it was, technology and whatever, you can just customize that if you want to specifically customize a landing page because it's a high traffic page. And also you can use the block editor to sort of add content in that header area so that you could make a paragraph and put some buttons in or something, or whatever you wanted to do. So you can, for pages where you know that you've got a bit more traffic to them, because I would anticipate, and again, this is all learning, I would anticipate that although I think in your example there's about 4,000 different combinations of pages, isn't there?
Yeah.
Realistically, there's probably going to be 10 to 15 that are really well-served pages in Google for any sort of recruitment agency, I would imagine. And it might be those pages that you want to really go ahead and customize the title and put some content at the top with a paragraph of text that's explaining what it is, etc. So that availability is built in as well. So
yeah,
hopefully that will help.
I think our next big challenges, one is naming the thing. I have no idea what to call it, and I don't know, is this something that people are already talking about? Is there terminology for this already that we should tap into? What would people search for if they were looking for something like this? Do they even know do they even know to look for something like this? Is this something we're going to have to educate people on rather than capture searches that are already happening? There's all that stuff to figure out. I've put a bit of a landing page up, but it doesn't. The product doesn't have a name, and like I said, I don't know what words I'm supposed to be using. So
tricky,
that's the next challenge.
Courtney says, pretty cool. I suppose it would be like work for other industries, like Elliot Richmond said. Yeah, so that's our thoughts as well. So recruitment is our thing, and that's why it was sort of invented, if you will. But I think it could easily work for house sales, so estate agents. So 3-bed semi-detached houses in London, that sort of search type thing, that could really work well. Sort of directory sites, I would imagine, would be quite good. And there's possibly WooCommerce.
I think e-commerce is a massive potential for e-commerce on this. Why not?
But don't know whether WooCommerce already does that. I don't know. I would think it might.
You think it might?
I've not used WooCommerce for so long. Well, I have, but not properly for a e-commerce store type thing. But there's surely other niches for this as well. And I suppose one of the marketing strategies is, instead of trying to sell this as a whatever we call it tool, I've started off by calling it browse content, but I don't like it. Dynamically generated SEO landing pages, whatever. Instead of calling it that, you just call it, this is a ultimate directories plugin, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember what Nick said this morning. Nick came up with something I thought was half decent.
Yeah. So if you've got any ideas for a name, we're open to it, because we literally are a bit clueless on what to call it.
Yeah. Directory landing pages pro. I don't know. I don't know, because that's kind of what it is. I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky. But
it doesn't really get across. like landing page, like it does more than a landing page. Like you can create a landing page in WordPress anyway. So that doesn't really tell you what it does. It's like
and there's other landing page plugins that are nothing like this. Like they're not automated.
It is creating landing pages, but that's not really the benefit of it. The benefit of it is it's creating them all for you with nice headings, nice titles, SEO friendly URLs.
So the name for this in a generic sense is programmatic SEO. I discovered.
Right.
But most programmatic SEO that I found was like you take a spreadsheet of data and you create a template that ingests, and some functions that ingest that spreadsheet and spit out a whole load of pages. Now, this is similar, but it's different. It's based on the taxonomies that you've already got, and it's relevant to a specific post type, and it's very direct. This is very directory driven, focused. So
it's almost like, do you have a content type in WordPress that is heavily categorized with multiple taxonomies?
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. And if the answer to that is yes, do you want to generate landing pages for every combination of those taxonomy terms automatically in SEO friendly versions? There you are. I've just nailed it. Sold it.
Right. I'll have to watch the recording back to remember what you just said. But yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard.
We'll see. I'm quite excited about it. I think what will be powerful is if the tests that we're running currently come back with decent results, and then we've got numbers that we can attach to some of the marketing material and all that kind of stuff. So, that'd be cool. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It's been fun. It was fun to build a little landing page for it as well. I did a little one on our website.
It's nice.
So,
it's nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Bit of marketing work. It's good. Yeah. What's next?
Next up is positioning ourselves in the independent school market.
Yeah.
So for those who listen regularly, you'll know we've built 2 independent school websites in the last couple of years. Doesn't sound that spectacular when you put it like that, does it really? But wow, 2 websites. And they've been really successful, both for the clients, for us. We've enjoyed them. They've been really lovely teams to work with. And we've since had about 3 more inquiries for independent, 2 for independent school websites, 1 for just a what do you call it? A non-independent website. A state school, maybe is the word. And all off the back of the 2 we've built. They've literally seen the name on the bottom of the page and thought, who built this? Clicked it and then got in touch with us. So I think it's a really nice niche for us to get into.
I agree.
I think there's various reasons for that. I was a teacher, so there's a little bit of a connection there, which is nice.
Yeah.
The people that you're working with are really nice people, lovely teams. Everyone we've spoke to, we've literally come off the course and thought, wow, they were really nice. We could really work with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have a good budget because they're independent schools, which means they have a marketing team because they literally need to sell their school to parents to come and pay for their children to go.
Yeah, they're more of a business than state schools.
Yeah, exactly. So they have a model there that requires their website to be successful in that sense. So they have budget to put towards it, which is nice. And the other one is that the websites themselves, they are not that complicated in that they are essentially brochure sites with a bit of, what's the word? I don't know. The odd thing that's a bit different and a bit challenging, but they fit really well within our skill set. So we feel that when we get those sorts of proposals through, it's like, yeah, we can really deliver that to a really good standard for them.
Yeah.
There's not an awful lot there that's going to like worry us totally. Some things, calendars is usually one that comes into it, which pushes the boundaries a little bit. Again, not out of the question though, which is nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're a really good fit.
But
the problem,
is
it's a hugely competitive market.
It really is.
You've got several players, big players, who are just geared out to hammering out hundreds of school websites every year.
And annoyingly, they're quite good-looking websites.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're like behind the scenes. It could be an absolute mess. But when you look at the portfolios of these companies, they're like, they're good.
There's a couple in particular, isn't there? You can see, let's say there's 10 providers, there's some at the bottom end, you can tell straight away. There's some in the middle that look all right, and then there's like one or two at the very top end that produce some really, really good sites. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we don't know what they're charging for those sites, but and I don't think they're using. Well, no, one of them is using WordPress, aren't they? Remember, one of them is using WordPress. But again, we don't know what they provide to the customer. Like, do they get to edit everything? I don't know. So
is it Debbie behind the scenes, for example?
Yeah,
we don't know.
We don't know. You don't know. So there's a lot of competition there, but there's a lot of schools. So
we'll see. And then it's just like, where do we position ourselves in that market? Because we actually went in pretty low price wise for us on the last one, and we were still 50% more expensive than the person.
But they weren't an independent school. Don't forget,
they weren't an
independent school.
That's true. That's true.
And that's why I think all they really looked at was the price in a way, because they will have been so restricted on budget. Like, we can't just spend 50% more. Like, it's impossible. Whereas an independent school would have much more flexibility to say, no, we've chatted with this team, we really like them, what they're going to deliver is excellent, we think it's worth, and then they'd have more scope to say, yeah, let's go with it.
Yep. Yeah, so maybe it's still hard to know. Like, we've got a really small sample size of schools that we've worked with, so it's difficult to say, schools want this or want that, or they care about this or that yet. And I think we've got some inkling, but
yeah, definitely.
And also just like the budget ranges that we're up against and the competition that we're up against, and but still don't know loads about the market. So yeah, it's tricky. That pricing thing is always a really tricky balance, isn't it? Like, go low and win the work, but then can you deliver something you're proud of, or pitch high and try to be like the kind of exclusive ones who really know what they're doing, but then lose out and loads of it, people undercutting you. I don't know. It's not an exact science, but I think the problem for us is that we don't have the numbers of inquiries coming in where we can experiment. It's like,
exactly,
you get one or two of these inquiries a year and you really, really want to land them. You can't start fiddling around with, we'll just try really high pricing with these guys and just see what happens. Well, you lost that and you haven't really learned anything from it. So
I think it's hard to be these guys really know what they're doing, so we're going to be the more expensive one. Not that we don't know what we're doing, because we do. It's just, if you're up against school website provider A and B and C who are building 100 of these a year, then like, they kind of know what they're doing. Exactly. They've got the background proof that they know what they're doing. So we've got to be different to somehow to them. And I think we can be. I really think we can be. It's the same with recruitment. How many people hate the recruitment website provider or website that they've got, and we can deliver something that's much better for them. And I think we can probably do the same with these. But something to look into, something to try and delve into, and see if we can break into it a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Do you want to take on another topic, or should we wrap it up? What do you think?
Let's wrap it up. We've done 33 minutes. People are going to get bored of hearing from us.
I think that's a good time for a
show.
We'll save our exciting third and fourth topics for next week, so make sure to tune in.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us live on YouTube. And if you've listened back on the podcast, thank you for sticking with us. I know we had a bit of a screen share in the middle, but it was important to sort of look. And if you were listening to the podcast and wondering what was going on, go and watch the video, because you'll be able to see the screen that Keith was showing. I think we should be back next week. He hastily checks the calendar. Yes, I think we should. There's nothing in that says we're not. So I think we'll be back next week. We'll take on a few more topics and things. But thanks for joining us. Do subscribe if you haven't. Give the video a like and give us a share. It's always nice to get some new listeners. And until then, we'll see you next week.
See you soon. Thanks.